Oh no, it was no intro.
Oh, you removed the intro? Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine. And tonight we have a very special night. We have the lovely Ratchet Christian back with us tonight. Asma, let everybody know where they can find you and what kind of content you do.
Hi, everyone. Always excited to be back with the new party. My name is The Ratchet Christian on all platforms. I do political commentary, I do comedy, I do cultural commentary. I just talk. So find me on all the apps talking.
And we also have Alton Johnson, a good friend of the show. Alton, let everybody know where they can find you and what kind of content you do.
Hey, my name is Alton Johnson. You can find me on X, YouTube, TikTok. I do some stuff over there as well. Also Facebook, and I just do Christian content, mostly like Christian apologetics. Touch on different topics, things of that nature. Just about anything dealing with Christian apologetics.
Okay. Oops. I'm going to play our disclaimer, guys. For everyone watching, please hit the like button so we can build up the room.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
And tonight on the new party, as I was saying, we have a very special night. We are going to be having a debate where we discuss, should religion be in schools? So tonight, debate tackles this question. Public education is supposed to serve everyone, students of different backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs, but religion has also played a huge role in shaping our country's history, values, and moral traditions. So the question becomes, does removing religion from schools protect freedom or does it limit it? Some people argue that allowing religion in schools promotes morality, freedom of expression, and respect for faith. Others say public schools should remain neutral to protect the separation of church and state, ensuring no student feels pressured or excluded because of their beliefs. So Gray will be arguing that religion should be kept out of schools, and Alton will be on the pro that it should be in schools. To kick it off, we are going to allow our guest, Alton Johnson, 2 minutes to do his intro. Alton, the floor is yours.
All right. Grace, peace, everyone. So I want to first start off by saying that I am a father of three, and I do have two of my three kids who are actually one who's still being homeschooled. So two out of my three kids were homeschooled. Um, and one of my kids, he still goes to public schools because he still lives with his mom. So that's why it's going to be a little interesting for me to have this conversation tonight because I have kids that are homeschooled and kids that are in public school. Now, one of the reasons why I believe that religion should be in schools, especially the Christian religion, is that it helps to give kids a roadmap or to give them a foundation of character building and how we should be able to treat each others. Treat each other, not others. So that's one of my reasons why I believe that religion should be in schools, especially the Christian religion, and we'll probably get into Islam and the other religions as well as we go through this debate. But this country, since its inception, religion has always been the foundation of this country. And I think that when we take the Christian religion out of the schools, that's why we're seeing so many things that are happening where we're having a lot of these school shootings. We're having a lot of agendas being pushed inside of these schools. And that's why I feel that it is important for us to bring that foundation back to our schools.
Awesome job, Alton. Gray, why should it be out of the schools? Go ahead and go. Gray.
What?
Sorry, continue. You froze on
So
my
the
end.
moment we bring religion into schools, we stop educating and we start choosing sides. So I'm not here on the anti-religious saying that I'm against religion. I'm saying that for individual freedoms and I'm for institutions not being controlled by religion. There's a reason we have a separation of church and state. So if we start bringing religion into schools, what religion are we talking about? Are we talking about Christianity? Are we talking about Islam? Are we talking about Judaism? Are we talking about Catholicism? There are all types of religions. So if someone comes in, they say, hey, I want to bring a satanic religion in here, I think a lot of people will have issues with that. I have children just like Alton. I have a daughter that's looking at colleges right now. She's looking at Ivy League schools. And I don't feel like religion education is anything that helped her get there. I feel like it was all based on math, science, and history and different subject matters that a person can actually apply in the real world. So I'm about educating the youth and I'm about having an educated workforce. And for me personally, I feel like religion doesn't do real application when people go out and try to get employment or where people try to create innovation or technology in the real world. So I want to talk to the audience directly. I am not against Christianity. I'm for educating the youth. I'm for having a great workforce, and I'm for making America good and having an educated youth and a productive youth. And I yield.
Okay, great answers, guys. So we're gonna kick it off with our first question of the night, guys. We are also accepting super chats. Please send your super chat questions in. As you guys may have seen on our other panel style debates or on our other debates, we do allow super chat questions at the end. So send in those questions. My first question of the night is: should religion have any role in public schools, or should schools remain completely secular? As Alton was the first to go last time, I'm going to allow Gray to answer this question first.
Public schools should remain completely secular. They're funded by the taxpayer. If I'm a taxpaying citizen and I have a different religion, and then my kid goes to school and they have to listen to another religion, then that's an issue. And I want to speak on Christianity directly. When you look at Christianity and things that are in the Bible, if you go look at religious schools, they give you a down version, they water it down. So they're not going to really talk about the sexual relations in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. They're going to water it down. So even if you have children that are being educated, they're not even getting the full education. They're getting what the school is telling for them to learn. So I don't believe that we should start making schools religious. That's what private schools are for. If you want your kids to learn that, take them out of public government funded schools.
Okay. Alton, same question. Should religion have any role in public schools, or should schools remain completely secular?
Well, the thing is that we're already seeing what's happening when schools are remaining secular. When I went to school, although Christianity and religion was not really shunned, it seems like that kids had more of a moral foundation. And look, Christians are taxpayers as well. So if we're going to say that one side shouldn't be forced into paying taxes for schools where their kids don't believe in the same religion, well, then you can't force Christian taxpayers to pay for schools where that institution is going to say, we need to keep those certain people out. So therefore, if we're going to be able to talk about everything else within these schools, especially when we're talking about the LGBTQ agenda and all of these different ideologies, if they're allowed to be inside of the schools, then we should be able to have, especially the Christian religion, being talked about in the schools as well.
Ray, would you like to rebuttal?
Yes. I would like to speak directly to what Alton said as far as transgender being in schools. And that's the same thing with Christianity or any other religion being put in schools, because I don't want transgender being pushed in schools the same way I don't want any religion pushed in schools, because no matter if what you do, there's going to be winners and losers in this situation. If you put religion in the schools, the children who are not that religion are going to feel isolated. They may be bullied. They may be picked on. It's always groups and cliques in schools. And if we add religion to the mix, it's just going to add another layer to have some type of separation between each other. But I'm not going to say that Christianity is as worse as transgender, but I feel like pushing any type of ideology is harmful.
Okay, great answer. The next question is teaching religion the same thing as promoting religion? Alton, you're the first.
No, it's not the same thing because there are some schools that do have religion courses, and I haven't been to school in a long time, but I think that my high school that we went to, we did have a course that did talk about religion, and there wasn't like one specific religion that dominated. So I think that we do have to be aware of what's being taught and what other religions believe and compared to our own beliefs. So therefore, because I have these conversations all the time with people of different backgrounds and different faiths, we want to make sure that we're not just disliking a certain group of people based on the things that we've seen on social media and things that we've heard. But I think that we do need to be able to open up and have some of these dialogues and some of these conversations so we can be honest about where we stand religiously, because this could end up bleeding over into how we choose our candidates when it comes to, like, you know, being the president or mayor, or, you know, things that are that are pivotal to how we, or what direction we're taking our country in.
Nice answer. Gray, same question. Is teaching religion the same as promoting religion?
No, but a teacher is seen as an authority figure. So even though it's not promoting religion, that line is always crossed, even if it's unintentional. If you're in a classroom and a teacher is saying, I'm this religion, and he's talking to other students, or she is talking to other students about this religion, and the other person is going to feel isolated if they are atheists and or if they are of another faith. Right now, we see major divisions with Judaism, Catholicism, and Christianity. We see this worldwide. So we have a pluralistic society where people of all faiths, people of all ethnicities go to a school. And to me, if your religion is strong enough, you don't need the government to uphold your religion. You should be able to uphold it within your own home.
Great job, guys. So the next question that we're going to have is, should students have the right to express their religious beliefs openly in school settings? As Alton went first last time, Gray will go next.
Yes, but individually and not institutionally. A student shouldn't be controlled and not be able to express their faith in school. I'm saying that the institution shouldn't be pushing that. When I was in high school, I took world religions because that was something that I was interested in, while I learned about all the Abrahamic religions. And that's where I learned that it all came from the same God. But I like history, I like documentaries, I like those type of things. If I'm a student and I want to go to school and I want to go be an engineer, and then I'm forced to learn about, you know, how Mary and Jesus and whoever else did whatever, then that's kind of be a waste of my time with what I'm actually trying to go and achieve. There's already a problem with students not having life skills. We don't need to be giving them additional education that's not going to help them in the real world.
Alton, same question for you.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Should
One more time.
students have the right? Should students have the right to express their religious beliefs openly in school settings?
Yeah, and see, and I wanted to kind of touch on something that what Grace said, is that he said that he took world religion in school, and that's how he learned about the Abrahamic religions. But if we were to just remove religion and remove the talks of religion from school, well, then why is it okay for Gray to be able to say that this was somewhat of a benefit to him? Why would we want to remove that benefit for the next generations? You see what I'm saying? And he kind of used the word forced, that he doesn't want kids to be forced into studying religion. Well, then the question has to be to Gray, did Gray feel that he was forced to take world religion? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure in high school, world religion would be something that is considered an elective. It would be an elective to where either he could say, hey, I'm going to take this course or I'm not going to take this course and take something else, which it was inside of my high school. So I don't think that anyone is being forced to look at a certain religion and they're being forced to follow it. You know, I mean, just like I said before, if we could talk about everything else, how come we can't talk about religion? You know, and if we can talk about religion, then I think that kids should be able to express their religious views and practices freely. And that kind of opens up the dialogue. Hey, why do you wear certain garments? Hey, why do you guys eat certain things? Why do you guys only pray on these certain days? So I think that it can garner some type of camaraderie with people of all different backgrounds and religions.
Fair enough. Alton, actually, you're going to have the first question again. And the question is, where should the line be drawn between religious freedom and separation of church and state?
Well, I think that the line should be drawn. This was a perfect example. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think that there were some talks of the government where they wanted to try to regulate what could and what certain Bible things could be talked about in schools and what things that needed to be kept out of schools. So, you know, so they were basically saying that everyone should have a freedom to express their religion, but the government wanted to kind of regulate that. So I'm just like, I don't think that the government should be able to say, we're only going to provide funding to certain schools that are following these models of what we say that they can and can't talk about. So I don't think that I think that that's where the line should be drawn when it comes to how the state is going to regulate what type of religious conversations are going to be had, especially if it is within schools. You see what I'm saying? So let's not just, you know, cut this part out over here because it might be, or it might seem a little uncomfortable. And the only way that a school would get a certain type of funding is only if they fit our model. I think that that's where the line should be drawn, to where the state shouldn't have a hand in regulating what should be said and what should not be said.
Gray, same question.
Individuals equals free and institutions equals neutral. So a student should be able to go and pray at 2:00 and nothing be said, but the whole school shouldn't be forced to go and pray at 2:00 because that's the religion. We have this in prisons, and this has already been passed. Even in prison, if you say, hey, I don't eat this or I don't want to do this, they will respect. You have that also with the workforce, where they have to respect your religion. So I feel like we should have this in schools as well. And I feel like with religion, people get very emotional. People get very upset. So the line should be drawn at what is going to protect the students, protect the institution, and protect the individual's rights. And so I feel like individually, a person should be able to focus on their religion, have it with their friends, but the school shouldn't be put in a situation where they have to recognize any other religion, because that open. Okay. You're muted.
Good answer. Okay, guys, sorry. Ooh, my timer's going off. I have this clip right here, and it says that you shouldn't allow being a patriot to replace, replace where you're at school. This was the debate with Charlie Kirk and another man. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Here we go.
I want to be patriotic, but I don't want it to get in front of my main goal, which is advancing the gospel to all people.
The most important thing in the world is to know Christ and make him known. The second most important thing, though, is to make sure you can do the first thing. That's where I come in. You're focusing your life to number one. I'm focusing a majority of my life on number two. What do I mean by that? During COVID, they called the church non-essential, yet they left strip clubs open, marijuana dispensaries, Home Depot, and Lowe's, but they said the bride of Christ was non-essential. They always say separation of church and state. Why is it then that the state could come in and shut down the church? You see, what we see is that when we stop caring about politics, is the government gets so big, it starts persecuting our religious liberty and our freedom. And it's not a contradiction. In fact, if you look at the conservative agenda, is a far greater fit with a biblical worldview than anything on the left. And so if we want to know Christ and make him known, we must have one ingredient, a free society.
Yeah.
It is hard to know Christ and make him known in countries where the gospel is not allowed to be told on the side of the street, like China or North Korea. When Christians fail to care about politics, politics will start caring about Christians. And we must understand that we are the recipients and the inheritors of a country that was founded by Christians so the gospel can spread. Your mission is first and foremost to win people to Christ. I try to do that every day, but my mission is to make sure that you can do that without being arrested or thrown in a gulag.
So, guys, I'm going to allow each of you 1 minute to respond to that clip because he brings up a good point. He feels like if religion isn't being freely allowed, that basically we no longer have a free society. Gray, I'll allow you to go first.
The Supreme Court ruled that Taracasso versus Watkins that secular humanism and atheism are religions. So, with your question about the favoritism with religion is Christianity. Christianity is always going to be the main dominant religion. So if you say, okay, well, churches were closed and marijuana dispensaries and all these other places were open. Marijuana is considered to be like medication. Strip club is considered to be entertainment. The reason that the government is basically putting these restrictions on churches, you don't pay taxes. And I'm not saying that's not essential for someone's spiritual beliefs, but I feel as if something is proven scientifically, the government is going to stick by it.
Okay. Alton, same question.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The Christian church is always going to be persecuted. I mean, even Jesus said that. He said, you know, if they hated me, they're going to hate you. So when it comes to us as Christians, we're not surprised when we're always being singled out to we're always under the oppression, especially when it comes to like persecution. It's always us. So just like Gray talked about Satanism being considered a religion, the Satanists, not too long ago, they tried to get the Good News Club, which is an after-school program for kids. They tried to get that shut down. It failed. So with the Good News Club, kids were packing that place out. People were actually being put on waiting lists because kids actually wanted to attend that. So when the Church of Satan tried to do the same thing, no one showed up. So what does that tell you? That there are a lot of people and a lot of kids who are genuinely interested more in Christianity than anything else, especially Satanism.
Time's up. So you ended right on time. So the next question, Alton, since you're going to be the first to go, how can public schools include religion without appearing to favor one belief system over another?
Well, again, I think that what they should do is to be able to hold these courses, and especially to have courses that are being held by teachers, no matter what their religious background is, for them to be, unbiased, not to be leaning a certain way. For instance, back in 2022, a science teacher called a Christian kid, his name was Nicholas Ortiz. He lives down in Hialeah. His science teacher called him ignorant for reading a Bible during class. And the teacher just basically excoriated him for reading the Bible. So therefore, I think practices like that only happens to people who are Christian. Now, I don't think that he would have ever said anything like that to a person who is Muslim for reading the Quran. And in fact, some of these schools, they are allowing kids to leave class to go and pray, which I have no problem with. But if we're going to do a certain thing for one group of people, religious people, then be fair across the board. Be able to do it with Christians as well.
Gray, same question. How can public schools include religion without appearing to favor one system over the other?
So I agree with Alton as far as Christianity being the most persecuted across the world. But in the United States, the most persecuted are Jewish and Muslims because we base everything on Christianity. So I don't feel like there's any way to stop favoritism. Christianity is always going to be favored. And that's why there's an issue with putting it in schools. Because if we put religion in schools, these Jewish children, these Muslim children, whoever else is not of the Christian faith, they're going to be looked at as outsiders. And I feel like it'll affect their mental health, it'll affect their academics, it'll affect just their social well being within school. We should focus on educating students. I've never used X plus Y equals Z. And I don't think anyone's ever going to use Genesis or Revelations when they go out into the real world, unless they do theology or they work in some type of setting where religion is helping them. I feel like spiritually, I've had way more encounters with God outside in my own personal life than I've ever had within the school or within any type of physical building.
Okay. The next question, guys, is, and Gray, you'll go first again. Should taxpayer-funded schools promote ideas tied to faith when not all families share those beliefs?
No, I feel like you basically are making people fund things that they don't believe in. If you go to like a Catholic school, you're gonna feel great paying that money because that's what you believe in. But when we pay taxes, your money's going everywhere. We pay for schools, we pay for roads. It's assumed that we're basically all gonna use that. We live in a society with people of all faiths, all religions, all backgrounds. So we should respect that when we're talking about publicly government funded schools. If you go to a private institution or if you homeschool, that's perfectly fine. But if it's on the taxpayer's dime, it should be based solely on education and not on anything that deals with religion or trying to control anyone's point of view. Because we have to protect the children, whether it's trans ideology or whether it's religion. We have to protect children from what is being pushed in schools. We don't want a transgender reading to our schools and students with children books. So we shouldn't want a parent having their student be talked to about any form of things that could affect their mental or their future.
Okay, Gray, right on time. Alton, same question.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're already paying taxpayer money to schools that are practicing or allowing religious practice beliefs to take place in those schools that you don't even agree with. Like, for instance, I think up in Dearborn, Michigan, a lot of those schools, and just like many others across the United States, are very accommodating to Ramadan. So, and I know that a person such as Gray, he doesn't practice. He's not a practicing Muslim from what I hear, and I don't think that he would. I don't think that he would be okay, by his own words, paying taxpayer dollars to schools that are practicing Ramadan, or basically putting it up throughout the school saying that, hey, Ramadan is coming up, and this is what everyone is doing for the holiday of Ramadan. So the reality is we're already doing it. But my biggest question is that how come it seems like that it's okay for everyone else to do it? It's okay for schools to be secular, but as long as Christians don't start to practice or teach what they teach. And it seems like that it only becomes a problem when Christians are practicing or teaching the Christian religion. But when everyone else does it, it seems like that there's no problem.
Yeah, and that brings us into a video that I'm going to share, guys. This has to do with a teacher. She was bragging and saying that she was gonna, like, the importance of sharing like her pride flag with her students. Let's watch.
She, her pronouns, and I've been a first grade teacher for 16 years. I'm here in support of this bill to make rainbow flag bans prohibited. What does a rainbow flag mean to my students, my classroom? Here are some words for my first grade babies. It means my teacher will stand up for me. It looks like the flags at my house, so I feel home. It means we all are here together. My students feel the importance of windows and mirrors. I want every child, family, and staff member to have a clear visual of inclusion and safety in the community I build. We know students, families, and staff members need to feel safe in order to learn, thrive, and continue to share their talents with us. My rainbow flag stands for welcoming spaces, trust, resilience, compassion, joy, collaboration, and community without judgment. And don't we all want that for all kids? I will always have agency to represent all communities in my classroom. It's important my students see their own and their families' identities in my space, whether that includes our mural of Black excellence, our land acknowledgement written with some of our Native families, or my rainbow flag stating you are loved. My students, especially those whose stories are often left out, must feel represented and important, and it seems absurd that someone could take away that humanity from my students. So a piece of clarity from a former first grader, now 18, who still comes back to my safe space. Our rainbow flag means we'll always belong. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
So Alton, I'm gonna have you go first and respond to that. Is the rainbow flag okay, but why isn't the Bible okay? Like, do you think that there's any comparison, or do you think it should be treated differently? And also, it seems like she was teaching the ideology of genders and things like that. Do you think that's the same or different?
I would say yes and no. Well, no, due to the fact that gender, transgenderism, all of that stuff, that's not technically a religion, but it is pushing an ideology towards children that I would probably say maybe 90% of parents probably don't agree with or even practice, especially those who are paying taxpayer dollars to these schools. But I would say yes in the fact that when you do have a person who is a Christian who are paying tax dollars into the schools. Now, based on what Grace said that Christianity is the biggest religion. So if that's his stance, then that means that majority of the people who are Christian are paying into these schools who are pushing these ideologies on children. So therefore, now is it unfair to Christians that majority of the people, just like Grace said, are Christian who are paying into these schools? Is it fair for them, for a majority of them, to pay into these schools that do not align with their ideology? So this is where I see that there's an imbalance to where a lot of these schools would kick Christians out or kind of suppress Christians, but allow these ideologies in.
Great. Same question. Why is the rainbow flag and the gender ideology okay to be taught in school, but not religion?
It's not okay to be taught, and that's why there's a huge uproar about it. And here's the issue with religion, because they're talking about gay stuff too. If you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, the angels that came to the house before it was destroyed were wanted to be sodomized by the people there. And the guy gave his daughters so that didn't happen. You go back to Abraham basically talking to God, he talks about sacrificing his son, right? He can't get his wife pregnant, so he goes and he gets Hagar, his slave wife, pregnant. And so we should be talking about the age of this student. This was a first grade student that she was talking about sex with when you're talking about the pride flag. So when you talk about religion, you're also bringing the fact of sex into education. So there are plenty of texts that I could say that are in the Bible that a first grader should not know about. And that's what we should be talking about, the age of students and what they should know. The pride flag has never been okay, and the right wing goes to the full extent to keep gay ideology out of schools. But if you look at the Bible,
no, finish your last point. Go ahead.
If you look at the Bible, it talks about murder, sex, and all types of things that no children should hear about.
Well, I'm going to play another clip, guys. Just to break this up a little bit. If you're watching, please hit the like button. We actually did get a super chat. We got like a member. So thank you, King Yeshua of Israel. Free will is paramount, should be an opt-in. We'll be reading the remainder of the super chats you guys send in at the end, but I just wanted to thank him for becoming a member. But this clip right here, this was at a school board meeting, and they're mad about reading the Bible.
Your religion is not special, and you are not special for believing it. Your book has no authority over anyone except yourself. Between this mandatory reading list and the bills passed last year, like SB 965, which would allow a teacher to preach these stories as if they were fact, it is clear that a special level of arrogance is infesting the Texas government, because it does take a truly special level of self-delusion to think that you are so star-spangled special that your preferred interpretation of your preferred translation of your preferred unsubstantiated, unproven, unfalsifiable claim is correct to the point that you think you have the right to indoctrinate the next generation with it. This is clearly a Christian supremacist agenda, if not evidenced enough by the fact that no other religions are on this list, then by the fact that you've had a parade of Christian supremacists at this podium openly stating that they believe their faith system is superior, supporting this list. This is not providing historical and cultural.
Alton, I'm going to allow you to go first. What protection should exist for students who are atheist, agnostic, or from minority religions?
Well, I think that they already have more than enough protections. Not saying that they shouldn't have any protections at all. Let's be clear on that. But I'm saying that they have enough protections right now to where they've just kind of suppressed Christianity out of the schools. I mean, a majority of the schools can't have the 10 Commandments posted up. People are shunned for bringing Bibles into schools. I mean, Christians are being fought against for having after school clubs, Christian clubs. So I think that majority of the people who have these minority views, they're the ones that seem like that they have enough power to suppress Christians outside of these schools, which again, Christians are paying taxes to. So I think that the question should be flipped back on my opponent, Gray, to say, well, what type of protection should Christians have when a lot of these minority groups can come in and suppress Christians the way that they've been doing for the past few decades?
That's a great question, Gray. I'm going to allow you an extra 30 seconds to answer, but also to answer the question. So go ahead.
I think Christians and minority religions should have the same protections. I do feel like there are some people that may be attacked for their Christian beliefs. I feel like there was an attack on some students for being MAGA. I'm on the left. I felt like that was unfair. So I feel like we should protect people for their religious rights. When we're talking about an individual, if this person comes and they have to eat a kosher meal, and this person is Muslim, they got to go pray at a certain time. We should respect that everyone should have some type of protection to do what they have, especially when we're talking about minors. They should have the exact same protections as anyone else to protect the child while they're in that school for that time period.
Great. Alton, would you like to respond back to him?
No. I think he already kind of wrapped it up and summed it up. I don't think I have any rebuttal to that.
Okay. Well, in this clip right here that I'm going to play, this has to do with Oklahoma. A top education official has ordered public schools to incorporate them to teach the Bible. Let's watch.
5 through 12. The state superintendent of education issued the order yesterday saying that biblical knowledge is a must for students to be properly educated.
The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country.
A conversation centuries old in this country. Civil rights organizations and other opponents say the requirement violates the Constitution, the First Amendment in particular, and they plan to go to court. Oklahoma is facing new challenges.
So the first question is going to go to Alton. What protections should exist for, Oops, my bad. Could allowing religion in schools create division or discrimination among students? Basically, I mean, we heard that he's making it a part of the curriculum. What's your thoughts? Should that be across the country? And to answer that question.
No, I highly disagree with that. Simply because the Bible is not, when the Bible's written, okay, it was written by 40 different authors, over three different continents, over 1500 year span. So whenever the Bible was being compiled and when those stories are being written, the United States or Western civilization was not even thought of. So to make it a requirement for Western civilization, I think that he's wrong on that, making the Bible to be required for everyone, especially in schools, to read or to study. But however, I don't think that it should be hindered. And I think that with tonight's discussion, that's where I kind of disagree with Gray on this, because I think that Gray's position would be more so that nobody should be able to read the Bible or study it in schools, where I believe that people should have that opportunity to do that.
You're muted, Nora. You're muted.
I want to ask you a quick question then. Basically, in this clip, it looks like school children are learning how to pray to Mecca, or they're teaching them that. Are you okay with that in turn, or would you also be opposed to that as well?
Well, I mean, right now I see only 3 kids. I don't. It doesn't seem like it's the whole classroom, because I mean, maybe it's the whole classroom, but if they were saying that these kids had to do that, then I would think that that was wrong. But if they made it to where, okay, well, after school or during recess or lunchtime, if kids want to learn how to do this, then they can come into the classroom and learn that, then I will be okay with that.
So you're okay with like extracurriculars? Makes sense. Gray, could allowing religion in schools create a division or discrimination among students?
Yes, definitely. And I want to respond to this comment. Jody Girl says, why is this question even being brought up? Separation of church and state was to protect the church and not the state. And like you said, discrimination is going to happen because you're going to put Christianity in, like how you just played. Somebody said in the comments, oh, I don't want, Islam in schools. And you just saw that. And most people be upset about that. So people are going to be discriminated against because of that, and that could lead to their religion or their mosque or their church or their, what do they call the Jewish one, synagogue. That could lead to that also being affected, because you could put your thoughts and how you feel in school. What do people always say? Don't talk about politics, religion, or sex, because they know that these types of topics are going to cause a major issue. We're all adults here, so me and Alton are able to debate and not get emotional and stay calm and get the facts out there. But with children talking about something so powerful, something so divisive, would definitely create issues with the children, because they're going based off of what their parents think.
Okay, that's time. Gray, the next question is going to go to you. And this is the final question, guys. We are still accepting super chats. Please send in those super chat questions. But it said, should religion instruction be left entirely to families and places of worship?
Yes. To my grandmother, God rest her soul, she was very religious. My aunt, she's still here. She's real religious. My other aunt that passed away, she's very religious. They were the people who taught me about religion. I didn't learn the actual facts. I was in the Southern Baptist situation, so they just gave the spirituality and a performance of going to church, and I really didn't get the actual doctrine until I went to school, until I actually learned on my own, where I actually learned these stories, and I'm like, wow, this is what actually happened. I feel like when you have the school do that, it gets distorted. So when you give these kids these watered down versions, when you say, oh, Adam and Eve ate the fruit, but you don't talk about the fact that once they ate the fruit, they realized they were naked, and the name of the tree is called the tree of knowledge, and you're just giving a picture book where they have a leaf in front of their private parts, you lose what the actual context is trying to teach the individual. So that's why that should be taught by parents and family members and not by government institutions.
Okay. Alton, same question.
Yeah, I actually agree with Gray on this, because the Bible doesn't tell us that we should leave our how we should be able to teach our kids up to someone else, right? This is another reason why I do homeschool, or why I did homeschool my kids, was because with so many things that were coming into the schools, I didn't want my kids to be confused. I didn't want what they were being taught in school to contradict what we were what they were being taught at home. But the Bible does tell us that we are supposed to disciple our own families. So yeah, I do agree that we don't depend on the schools to do this, but we got to be prepared. So whenever the schools teach something that is contrary to the faith, we got to be prepared to counteract that with the true teachings of the faith. So I do agree with that. But again, at the same time, I don't think that it should be restricted out of the schools altogether.
Gray, would you like to respond and rebut?
I agree with Alton to a certain extent. It shouldn't be excluded, but it should be voluntary. Like for me, I was very into weightlifting, so I took weightlifting 1, 2, and 3. And so like I had the option to go say, hey, I want to take this. My mother didn't really have a car like that I could drive, so I chose to take driver's ed. You choose to take these classes. Like I said earlier, I chose to take world religions. When you get to high school, you get to pick. And that's when these kids are at the age where they can talk about it. It should be optional. So it should be based on the individual. If me, myself say, okay, I just want to go to school for sports, I just want to go to school for math and science, I shouldn't have to learn all these other things. If I was going to push anything to be in to government institutions, I would want kids to learn real life stuff, how to change the oil, how to file taxes, how to buy a house, how to understand like how to work with the government, laws. Those are the things that we need kids to learn, actual life skills. Yes, religion and spirituality is important in the individual's life, but government institutions, taxpayer money doesn't need to be given to that. And if we look at what's going on right now, religion causes major divisions. There's literally war going on. So we have Muslim, Jewish, and Christian students. They need to be protected, so we don't need to bring this division into schools when they already had this division every time they turn on TV, every time they go on social media, and probably in their own homes. So what I would say to people is teach your kids what you feel like they need to know. And if you open Pandora's box and you're against trans ideology or any other type of ideology, if you allow this in, other ideologies are going to be pushed on your children. I yield.
Okay. Guys, we had Ratchet Christian here tonight, fact checking. So we're going to, I'm going to allow her to ask you guys a question.
Wonderful debate, guys, by the way. Very great conversation. I've enjoyed just, listening in and then just fact checking in the background. I do have a separate question for each of you. And my first question is going to be for Alton. Alton, you're on the side of religion should be included in schools. And my question is to you, how would you implement it if, say, you woke up tomorrow and, that was legalized? What would it look like for you? Is it we start class with a Bible reading or we end the day of school with prayer? Like in a perfect world, what does Christianity in schools look like to you?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So yeah, what would Christianity look like to me inside of schools, hypothetically speaking, is that yes, we would, open up with prayer, maybe some hymns that would be sang. Then we will go through the curriculum, kind of like what we do, for our kids here being homeschooled. They open up with a short Bible study, maybe a hymn or two. They go through their academics and all of that stuff. And then at the end, they close out with prayer. And that will basically be the end of it. It wouldn't be anything big, such as trying to, beat people over the head with the Bible and scripture and all of that stuff. It's just like, hey, let's take some time to really give some reverence to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Because if we're Christians, and if that's what we call ourselves, we got to be serious about the faith, because if we could be serious about everything else, then I believe that we need to have that much or even much more energy when it comes to the one who saved us from our sin.
Great answer. Gray, what's your answer to that? Or wait.
She has a different question for me.
Yeah, I have, it's a similar question, but different. I know, Gray, that your opinion is that religion should not be in schools. And so for you, I want to know, what would it look like for you to take religion out of schools, being that you had mentioned that you liked history, and classes like history are very deeply rooted in religion. I feel like human history is rooted in religion. So how do you teach certain things in schools without including religion? If your preference is for there to not be any religion at all, how would you implement that to take it out of the schools completely?
I would not take religion out of schools completely. I would add it in a historical context, and I would like to use something that's very prominent in the media today. For me, I never knew anything about Israel. I never knew anything about Judaism in school. All I knew was the Holocaust. I never knew that the Torah was the beginning of what the Bible and the Quran turned into. That was never taught in school because people are. Somebody asked me, "Do I believe in the Pledge of Allegiance and should religion be in school?" Because people are pushing an agenda where you're just trying to look at, okay, this is something that I'm converting to, rather than the actual historical context. That's where you get lost. There are things in the Bible and things historically that are going to be need to be said or mandatory when you're teaching students. So I would say that in social studies, in history, you should talk about religion in a historical context and how things develop, but it should not be based on you being converted to a certain religion. It should be based on historical context. This is why this happened, XYZ. Because if we start saying that, okay, we want to talk about how religion created all of this, we're going to have to start talking about how other things were created. I'm pretty sure all of us got a watered down version on what happened with the Native Americans. I'm pretty sure we all got a watered down version on Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure we all got a watered down version on a lot of things. So with the right specifically, they're constantly talking about that the school systems are messed up. Then let's start changing the curriculum and having it actually be based on facts and not based on feelings.
Okay, those were some great answers. Guys, thank you to everyone that participated tonight and sending us super chats and questions. Yeshua, thank you again. He became a super chatter, a member, and he said free will is paramount. So it should be an opt-in. Guys, do you want to respond to that response? And Asma, you can respond as well.
Yeah, I believe that it should be a free will thing. And and I think that when people think about religion in schools, they're thinking about somebody being forced or coerced into following or practicing that religion. And that's not the case at all. That's not what I'm arguing for. And just like I said earlier, I know Gray said that he took world religious studies, but it was based on his own free will. Nobody, held his arm behind his back and said, "Hey, listen, you need to take this class or you're not going to be able to pass." But it was by his own free will. And I think that that's the way it should be. It should be viewed.
Asma, do you want to respond to the comment?
Sure, I do. I just want to let the guys go first. I agree with King Yeshua of Israel in that free will is paramount. Everything is by choice. Even we as Christians, I'm a believer, but I have to choose Jesus for myself. I don't think it's anything that can be forced on anyone. Exposure is like, if you're exposed to it, then fine. But people have to be able to choose God for themselves. And I think parents should be able to choose what their children are being taught in schools. Parents should have the say, not the teachers, not the government. The parents should choose what their children are exposed to. And so, yeah, everybody should have a choice in this. No one should be forced to do anything.
Gray?
I completely agree. I think that is more of a spiritual journey. Azamal shared her journey last week about how she had her spiritual journey and what turned her to a Christian. All you guys are regular churchgoers. So I'm pretty sure your own individual journey is what made you go there. And it wasn't someone saying, "Hey, if you go there, if you do this," because someone forces you to do something, then you get turned off from it. When it's actually on your own free will, then you actually enjoy it, and it'll probably last a lot longer if it's not forced on you.
That's a good point, guys. And thank you to Incognito. He said, "Best debate channel. We appreciate you." And James said, "I'm glad they are formal and respectful, like a real debate." Yeah. So guys, sometimes it can get pretty spicy. So please come back. On most Sundays, we will be having the debate. So make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you can know when we go live and when we have the next debate. I'm going to allow our guests to go first with their closing thoughts. Ratchet, thank you for coming and being a fact checker with me. Let us know your closing thoughts. Who won?
Man, I think the highest compliment is that I think that they both won. You know, I love people who have a personal conviction and a passion about the things that they feel and the reason why they feel them. And I think they both made very valid points. Even as somebody who's like a staunch believer in my faith, I could see Gray's perspective, and he offered a lot of reasons as to why, and so did Alton. And so I think they both won. Just having a conversation in general is a win in today's society. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Alton, what's your closing thought?
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. You know, shout out to Gray. I like the fact that he was able to, you know, properly articulate what he was saying and to be able to get his point across and his own convictions. So, you know, shout out to him for that. But my position is that I don't think that religion should be forced on anyone, you know, because that's not even what we're taught in the Bible, to go out and force our religion on anyone else. Our job and my job as a Christian is to spread the gospel, is to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. And then the Holy Spirit is the one that takes over. Also, our kids, they interact with each other all the time, you know, from all different backgrounds. When I went to school, there were people who were Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, all of those types of things. But what I mean, and I became friends with a lot of people from different backgrounds. So I don't think that this whole thing, that religion divides everyone or it will start to divide children. I really think that that's a false ideology. But again, I don't think that we should be ashamed of what we believe and why we believe it. And I think that if we can have open and respectful dialogue, we could get to understand, to know each other better, because you got to remember, these are future, these are the people that are going to be running the country in the future, the kids that are living today.
That's a good point. And guys, just so you know, the poll results, it was 62% Alton and 38% Gray Mars. If you guys haven't done the poll, please make sure you do it before we end the live. Gray, what's your closing thoughts?
First off, congratulations to Alton. Thank you for coming. But I would like to say to the people that disagree with me, public schools are one of the few places where America has come together. The moment we interject religion into these spaces, that's when they stop becoming equal students and we start becoming divided by our beliefs. So even if you have your own belief system and you feel like you're right and that this should be taught, try to put yourself in another parent's shoes where they don't believe in your religion and they're going to be exposed to a religion they don't believe in. If you are a Christian and you don't like Islam, you don't like Judaism, you don't like atheists, whatever the case may be, think about if you took your kid to school and then they had a transgender walk in and that was the teacher. And they said, hey, I got the pride flag, I got this, I got that. So I understand why you feel this way, but try to think about the students. And like I said before, there's a lot of stuff that's in the Bible that is not G-rated. And I feel like the laws say that we have to show kids PG and G-rated material. So I wouldn't want children to be exposed to things that they aren't mature enough to understand. Thank you for having me on the debate. It was great talking with all you guys. I think that was a great discussion. I hope that this goes into the algorithm and people wake up and start to have conversations that are extremely uncomfortable and we can all be better together. Thank you.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you to Alton Johnson for coming and debating something he's very passionate about. Thank you to Ratchet Christian for coming and helping to fact check. I appreciate both of them. Guys, we are the New Party. We live stream every Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are starting bi-weekly debates Sunday evenings at 8. So again, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can know when we do this. Coming up soon, our next debate will be on Ukraine. We have an actual attorney who quit his job and went to go serve for Ukraine. He will be debating on the pro. And then our newest member, Jeff Mack, aka Afraid of No One But God, has a very, very big following. He's big on Kick, big on TikTok. And he's actually Ukrainian. We learned that. And actually, he's on Russia's side. So he's going to be saying why we should cut the funds off. So make sure you come back, not this Sunday coming, but the following Sunday. And make sure you guys hit that notification bell. We will be back here tomorrow night, Monday, the Man Cave. Gray will be talking about the fact that Grindr has been invited to the White House. So you definitely want to come back and check that out. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a good night, guys, and stay safe.
Hello, history buffs. Ready for a journey back? Look at this encampment. The spirit of 76 is alive.
Freedom of future. A true patriot savors these moments, but the fight for liberty calls. To the encampment for freedom of future.
For liberty. This is what American patriotism is all about. Look at these flags. They represent our fight for liberty.
The hour our liberty is at hand. For freedom is brought by. Secure our liberty. My fellow patriots, the hour of decision is upon us. Let us march forth with courage to secure our liberty.
Welcome to my colonial home. Today, Del Payne's new work captures the spirit of We Fight for Independence. And our freedom. Greetings from the encampment. The spirit of liberty is strong. We will fight for our rights and our freedom.
Hour is late. You must enact. To the encampment for liberty. Through every change and challenge. We stand at the dawn of liberty, unshaken by the trials ahead. Soldiers, the enemy is near. Front line, fire me!